So welcome everybody to another live interview for Become a Fearless Father. I'm very excited about this, and we're first going to dive right in actually, because this guy is a go-getter, and he can't wait to share his insights, his experience. And the first thing that I want to know, and this might be a weird question, but I love the name, the Digital Drink Podcast. And I was thinking like, man, I have always struggled coming up with a right name for my businesses. So I was wondering, how does one come up with an awesome, catchy name like the Digital Drink Podcast or just the digitaldrink.com, right?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, man. I think when we started our digital agency, I was wanting to do like something a little bit different than all of my competitors. And all my competitors, it was too expensive to teach and to educate. It was too much time and too much energy, and it was just too expensive. And so what I decided to do was I was like, well, you know what? I'm a digital agency, and I want to do this. I want to make it after work. I think I can find a place where I can host meetups and bring, people in that are trying to entrepreneurs who are trying to grow their business. And so I was like, you know what, let's just like go out for drinks after work. And then I was like, oh, well, this is kind of interesting. Like I'm teaching them about, digital and social media and all right, well, hey, let's just call this the Digital Drink and see what happens, and I started calling it that, and it just kind of stuck and really like evolved a whole thing of its own. And from there, it just it kind of went really well. And now people when they tune into our show, to our podcast, or to our virtual reality show or anything like that, they're usually got either early morning, they got a cup of coffee, or late after work, they got a drink in their hands. So it works really, really well.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I like that. But what you say from there is like, okay, yeah, you checked out your competitors, you saw, what their names are. So that's one. But I can also understand that people get really nervous and like really put a lot of stress on that. And it sounds from you like it came more natural. Like, hey, we started and you put all the different things together that were important to you and kind of mashed it together, saying, oh, wait a minute, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. So that comes then together to a name, right? So more in a relaxed form. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I wanted it to be more relaxed. I wanted it to be, a place where, people could come and just hang out and create and form relationships. I mean, that's really what business is all about whenever it's trying to grow and is trying to get started out is, I wanted to network and relax. And I wanted to provide an atmosphere where people could actually come in and just do exactly that. Hey, it's been a long day and I want to come over here. I still want to learn and educate myself. I still want to get to the next level of my business. But you know what? It's been a really long day. I'd love to just like relax and not be not be formal, like, and not be uptight about anything. I wanted to create that casual atmosphere or, we have a worldwide audience. So we have people that listen in Australia, New Zealand, it's morning time there and things like that. And so, I was just like, hey, I want this to be like a good part of the day, and I don't want it to be too formal. When things are too rigid and formal in the morning in your routine, you just feel like, man, this is not how I want the rest of my day to go. You know what I mean? I want to take life as it comes. And that's kind of what being an entrepreneur is all about. It's like take life as it comes. And especially when you're starting out, because there's a lot of things you don't know. But, as you grow and things like that, the whole idea behind it was just to make sure that I could provide a good atmosphere and a good culture that allowed people to just let everything down and be open and vulnerable in a casual environment to build relationships, network with each other, and help each other out. So that was kind of the whole idea. I didn't let it stress me out at all. Like stress is, there's a lot of things to get stressed about in life. I've been through a lot of stuff in life. And so I try my best not to get stressed out when it comes to little stuff like that. So I created that. I went out and looked at my competitors. None of them were doing it. And I was like, you know what? I think that this is, I can really establish myself here. And I did that, and it caught on really well. And from there, man, I decided I'm going to embrace this whole thing called the Digital Drink. And, we're going to talk about, how we help entrepreneurs in the digital realm. Like everything is going digital today. I mean, there's businesses that are going out of business because they refuse to adapt to digital. And so I was like, man, let's just let's just create an environment where we can help people, help them grow on the digital platform, and and immerse ourselves in it. So now it's just kind of, like I said, it kind of took over and went from there. So it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Great to hear that. See, I must say, because when Therin and I just talked a little bit before, and I was mentioning to him a little bit the structure of how I do my interviews. And I mentioned to him, I said, look, one of the things that's so important to me is to come up with a question that gives you guys that are watching this real value straight from the bat. And the thing was, I was still struggling because I already checked this guy out a little bit, and I saw his origin, his background story. And I was like, man, that's so interesting. Actually, also, it's like, shall I veer away from my new setup, or shall I stick to it? So we stuck to it, but Therin, man, I heard some things that you shared already on your Facebook page, and I was just like, wow, man, you've been through a lot already.
Yeah.
So please, man, share a little bit. Who are you? Where you at? Where you been? All the nice things that can help people get to know you a bit better, and maybe some extra value lesson, because I think what you've been through so far, just on its own, are valuable lessons for people to learn of, right?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. It's a really good starting point too. Like I said, I started my kind of entrepreneur journey. It's been something that's always kind of been burning inside of me since I was in high school. And, from there, I didn't really have a good upbringing. I was kind of on my own, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to be, when I grew up. And so, I always knew I wanted to be a businessman. Like I wanted to be in business for myself. But before that, I had a higher calling, which is I wanted to join the military. I needed structure. I needed discipline in life. I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have a stable parental relationships. I didn't have a dad that was there. He was strung out on drugs and always out of the house. And and I didn't live with my mom or my stepdad. It was kind of a toxic environment. And so, I knew how I wanted to be and what I wanted to be based on, the actions of my grandfather. And so I knew from there, I was like, you know what? And he wasn't a man of very many words. He was a man of action, and so he showed me how to be a man. And I took that and I ran with it. And I knew how I didn't want to be because I watched my dad. Right. So I was like, okay, I know what I don't want to be. And so I had a good model of, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to be. This is the kind of husband I want to be to my wife. This is where I want to be at in life. I want to treat people like my grandpa, and I don't want to be anything like my dad. So I've got my left and right limits here, But again, I knew I needed structure. I needed discipline. So I went into the military at 17 years old, man. And from there, it's just been a wild ride since then. Like I was in for a few years. I went straight into my first deployment. After that, came back, went over to Iraq I was in Iraq, traveling the country. We were doing all kinds of stuff over there. And really just my whole mission was to protect the medical staff from detainees and things like that. So, it was a very eye-opening experience for myself, because it's the first time I've been out of the country. I say that, out of the country, to a place where just the culture is different. Not in a good way or a bad way. It's just different, right? Everything that we see or hear or indoctrinated in life is not as it seems. And so it was a very eye-opening experience for me at a very, very young age. I was 22 when that happened. So, from there, man, it was just like, I went on that. I came back home, went probably maybe, I had a baby. That was a beautiful thing. I love I have a beautiful little girl. I got to spend probably about a year of life with her before I was training back up to go deploy again. A second deployment was a whole lot worse than my first deployment. And it's just as far as back over in Iraq, but at this point we were closing the country of Iraq down as far as pulling out all military troops. So it was a really rough time period. Living conditions weren't good. It was just a lot, and there was a lot of stress at that point, a lot of combat at that point. And so I was in charge of a small team. I didn't get to call home as much as I'd like to. I didn't get to, because I didn't have the capabilities. So because of that, I got to see my daughter, I got to be able to call home and and talk to my wife at the time and talk to my daughter at the time, for maybe once or twice a month. That was it. That's all I got to see of them. And so I lost that relationship that intimate relationship that you get to have, and that really caused a lot of stress. And then coming home, we just, there was just certain things that we couldn't get right. And I ended up going through a divorce. I wanted to, it was very, very important for me to set a good example for my daughter by showing her that, look, maybe your mom and I cannot get along, but it's more important for me to leave this relationship while I still love and care about her and not hate her. I think a lot of people, they wait too far into, in that separation phase. I think that I knew that I always wanted to continue to get along with her and my daughter's mom. I knew that I didn't want to hate her. I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want any of that. So again, my whole mind was, if I'm going to leave this relationship, I'm going to leave it and show my daughter that, look, you don't have to be together because we can't get along to still love each other and still provide a good working parental dynamic. And so then after that, we separated. We're really, really good friends now. We're better friends than we ever were married. Which is, it took us separating to see that, unfortunately. But there was just different things that happened. There was things that happened to me in life that I couldn't figure out after 2 deployments, 2 really, really rough deployments. I just couldn't figure them things out. I was trying to go through counseling and handle with PTSD and nightmares, and just heightened sense of awareness. And I didn't know how to be a husband, and I didn't know how to be a dad. Like, I lost it because I'd been gone, and I came back home for my second deployment. My daughter didn't even know who I was. It broke my heart. I mean, it just absolutely crushed me, and I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't know how to be a husband anymore, and so that was caused really rough times. We ended up splitting after that. And after we split, man, life got really crazy then. I went in, we ended up separating, moved into my own place, was doing really well. And we had a very, very amicable separation. And, I was doing really well. And I was looking to bring in a roommate to kind of help out with, bills and things like that. And not only that, just to kind of have some companionship, somebody to, kind of hang out with, and, just going to work all day. I was still working for the military full time at this point. So going to work all day and then coming home to nobody and nothing, at the time was just not fun. And I really wanted to have more. I was going to school a lot, and, I had a pretty busy schedule, but I still wanted to, to have somewhat of a social life. And I had a really big house. And so I was like, you know what, I need to, let me bring somebody in, help them pay, like they can help pay the bills. I can maybe create some friendships here. And so I reached out and found somebody who's was going through a similar situation, or at least so he said. And so he's going through a similar situation. And man, he lived with me for about 6-7 months. I found out, like, in about 6 months, I was going to school. So really, I wanted to go into organizational leadership. So I wanted to go into businesses and help cultures, workplace cultures, develop good leaders, and not just hire people into managerial positions based off of merit. I think that's really, really, really bad, because like, oh, you sold so well, we're going to make you a manager, and they have 0 leadership experience. Not a good thing. So I was going to go into business for that. I was starting to kind of develop this. Well, my roommate at the time was like, man, I see you really want to go into business. You're really passionate about this. You know a lot about business and setting up stuff. And he goes, I've owned a couple businesses in my life, and a couple of them were really, really successful. And he's like, you know what, let's talk about going into business together. And I was like, all right, well, let's, what do you have in mind? And he's like, man, I see that you're really big on the leadership and the workplace culture. And, what if we went into business? One of my passions is cars. And what if we opened up a car lot, and you can help run and manage everything and hire and set up that workplace culture and be that leader that you really want to be. And then I can manage the operations of, cars and transactions and things like that. And I was like, man, that lines up with what I want. Like, I can see this, and And I wanted to partner with somebody who has had experience in business and who did well, And so at that time we went through a lot of paperwork, to kind of get things rolling and set up. And, and so we decided that, hey, let's do this. And after we did that, a couple months passed, and, hindsight's always 2020 when I tell this story. It's funny because now I know, what the red flags were. So it's just kind of a funny realization here. But, everything kept going. Everything was going good for a couple months after we decided, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to go into business together. He actually came back and, was trying to basically cut me out of ownership of the dealership. Well, that's pretty difficult because I was the money guy, right? All the financing was me and my name and my credit. And I had filled out the applications for who he had recommended to me was a financial advisor and an investment company. And so I was like, okay, man, like this, everything is good. Let's do this. And he kept trying to cut me out, and things really kind of started making me asking more questions. And so I was asking more questions and more questions. But by this time, money started coming in, and the financial advisor and investment banker that I was talking to was like, hey, I need you to go into the bank. You need to close this deal. You need to do this deal. You need to sign this. And, so, and I'm doing all of that. But at the same time, I'm listening to my roommate, who was supposed to be my business partner in all this, trying to cut me out, so it's really kind of a weird deal. And so I started asking all these questions like, hey, man, I don't know how you can cut me out. I'm the money guy. I'm bringing the money to the table. I'm the one that's financing this whole deal. It's my name on everything. I don't, we can't do this. And money's already coming in. What are you doing? Like the deal's already been made. You're not cutting me out now. And, and so that went on for about a week. And then about the start of the second week, he comes at me and he says, hey, man, here's the deal. I've talked to my lawyer, I've talked to my accountant, and really you're only entitled to about 10% of this company.
Oh.
And, and so I'm sick to my stomach now because I'm like, okay, there's something more going on here. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what's going on at all. But I need to figure this out. I need to start talking to people. And so during this time while we were like setting up and doing all the paperwork, we were actually traveling the city, talking to other car dealerships, like used car lots, and talking to other dealer owners and things like that. And we were trying to figure all this out, like how do we get set up and how do we figure out rent and how do we do this and all that kind of stuff. How do we get cars in and how do we how do we do all that. And so I reached out to a gentleman that we had talked to. We actually sat down with him in his car dealership and had talked to him. And he said, you know what, man, come by. I'm here. I'm after work. I'm at this bar. Once you come by, let's talk about this. I can see that you're really stressed out. You've got a lot going on. I can see that, you really need somebody to talk to. Come by and bring everything you got. Let's just look at everything. So I go there. I lay everything out to him. I tell him exactly what's happening. I tell him, what all's going on. And he's like, man, can I cuss on the podcast?
Go ahead, man.
This is his exact words, right? This is whenever my world came crashing down. He says, man, you are fucked.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He goes, you are screwed. Here's what's happening. He's like, and the guy that was helping us with the money is like, dude, he says, you've gotten yourself into something. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like you're in with like, this is like mafia type shit. And I was like, what? And he goes, and so he kind of explained to me about different things. And so I was like, man, this is just like, my mind is blown right now. Everything to me, all of the, school only does so much for you, but it gives you a very different view of how the world should be and how it's supposed to work. But he laid out all the financials for me. Everything looked perfect. I brought all that stuff out, man. I was like, man, I just don't understand how this is, because like, he's showing me the financials. He's showing me how we're making money. He's showing me, the business plan. He's showing me all this stuff. Everything makes sense. Like, what do you mean this has got to be the mafia or something? Like, what? First off, I thought the mafia was dead. Like, I thought that went out in like the 30s and 40s and 50s. Like, what the hell? And he's like, man, you're in a lot of trouble. Like, you have two options. You can either go down to Florida, which is where the investment banker was. He said, you got two options. You can either go down to Florida and get your money back, and or you can go to the FBI. But here's your trouble. If you go to the FBI, you're probably going to go to prison because this looks like it's all you. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. I don't know what you mean. What do you mean it's all me? I'm literally everything that they're telling me to do, I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, he's like, yeah, but the problem is you were the one that went into the banks. Mm-hmm. You were the one that signed, a lot of the documentation. I was like, dude, I did not do this. Like, I didn't. How am I in trouble for something that I didn't even know? Like, what are you talking about? And so I realized at that point and he told me, he was like, I'm just going to let you know, like, if you go to the FBI, you're going to look at prison time, and you're not looking at small prison sentences. Like, you committed bank fraud. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm in the middle of this bar. My world comes crashing down. I just find out about this. And I break down in tears, right? Everything I had worked for is about to go away. I mean, I'm looking at prison at this time. What I thought I'm looking at prison. On top of looking at prison, I'm not ever going to see my daughter again unless it's behind bars. I am $500,000. That's how much they scammed me for. $500,000 in debt now. I don't have the money. And on top of that, I'm divorced. I'm going to lose my credit. I'm going to be kicked out of the military. I'm going to lose my security clearances. Like, I have nothing. So I was like, that's it. I'm going down to Florida. Like, if I have nothing, I'm going down there to get my money back, and I'll do whatever it takes. So I had planned. This is crazy. I had planned on going down there, and I had contacted some very, very shady individuals. But I was going to walk in with whatever arms that I had, with whatever armament that I had, because I was like, if I'm going down, these guys are going to pay for it. And I'm going to get my money back. I'm fighting for this. I'm not going to just stand by and let this passively happen to me. This is, I mean, if I'm going to lose everything, I'm going to die trying to make this happen, like get, a fighting chance. So I booked 2 plane tickets down there. My dad was going to come down and help me, basically just kind of be a watch. And we had everything, like, I'm in the military, right? So everything was like militarily planned out. I'm meeting this person at the airport. They're going to have a car for me waiting right here. In the back, there's going to be everything that I need to walk in here to make sure that I'm protected. My dad is going to be in another vehicle behind me. He's going to follow me. If I walk into this building, and I don't come out, or I come out with somebody else, then he's supposed to follow, and all this stuff, right? Everything was planned out. And so for some reason, and again, I don't know that I'm working with the mob right now. I don't know that. I just know that I'm looking at prison and I've got to fight. Like, my world just come crashing down. I'm not thinking logically or emotionally. I'm thinking based on emotions. And something said, I was talking to my girlfriend, and she said, maybe you should, like, look these guys up. Like, let's look them up. And mind you, I've already bought my plane tickets. Like, I leave in like a day and a half to go down there. And so I'm like, all right, let's just see, like, what we're getting ourselves into. So I do that. I do a Google search. Some stuff comes up for my roommate, but nothing comes up for the guys in Florida. So I'm like, well, this is kind of concerning, because the guy that's living in my house has been convicted and has felony accounts on scams across the country. And that's not good. And so now I know, okay, I'm being scammed, but I still don't know who these people are. So then I start to do a more in-depth advanced searches on Google through for the guys down in Florida. And so essentially I do that. I find out that these guys are indeed working for the Russian mob. They are the Russian mob. The guy that I've been talking to as my financial advisor, investment banker, is actually That guy is actually the finance guy for this Russian mob, which they call them brigades, for the Russian brigade there in Florida. And so I was like, man, if I go down there, I know that I'm not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is, at this point, like, I could go down there, but I already know that they probably, as well as I've planned out how things are going to go down, or how I think things are going to go down when I get there, they probably have it planned out how they're going to silence me. Right? Because they're up for murder charges. They were already up for murder charges that are out there through these advanced searches that I was doing. I was able to pull different records. Like, they were awaiting different trials and things for murder charges and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, this isn't good. Like, and one of the murder charges happened to be an Atlanta-based rapper. And so I was like, oh my God, like, these guys are killing rappers. Like, if you're willing to go kill somebody like that who's got publicity, like, what are you going to do to little old me out of Midwest United States? Like, you're not going to do anything. I mean, it'll be easy to get rid of me. So I decided that, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Like, at this point, I need to go to the FBI. And so I went into the FBI office here in my local city where I live, and I walked in. This is crazy. I walked in and I said, I'm not leaving unless two things happen. Either one, you escort me out in handcuffs and take me to jail, or B, an agent comes out and talks to me, because I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm in a lot of trouble and I need help. And so luckily an agent came out, sat down with me, heard everything that I had to say, rightfully so, very skeptical, right? Payments weren't due to the banks yet. So I'm coming to them way before I'm coming to them.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Coming to them before any payments have been missed. So I sat there with him, and he says, if I run all this and everything checks out, then I'll we'll talk more. So he runs everything. Thank God, everything checks out. He verifies my story, finds out who these people are, sees that they have been doing scams like this across the country to multiple people. The problem is they haven't done it to the number amount, to $500,000 like they did with me. They went for much lower amounts. So those individuals were never represented. However, those individuals, what they did have was, instead of being they had reports. They all filed their reports, and they didn't have any. The FBI wouldn't take on their case. So because they had filed reports, the FBI knew that, okay, everything that Therin is saying and everything that Therin is doing is checking out. And so now I have to go through this long waiting period of, like, them trying to figure out what they want to do to me. And meanwhile, I don't know if I still at this point don't know if I'm going to prison. I don't know. They haven't told me how they're doing this. I don't know if I'm still in trouble. Like, I have no clue, right? And so I'm contemplating, like, suicide every single day. I'm still living with the guy who scammed me, because I have no idea what's happening. I mean, I'm literally walking around the house with a gun on me everywhere that I go. I mean, if I go to the kitchen, I have a gun on me. If I go upstairs, I have a gun on me, because I don't know this guy. Like, now I'm a victim. I feel violated. And man, it was just I went through a very deep, dark depression. Work life, from where I was working full time for the military, was very toxic. I had very toxic leaders. So I was just in a really bad spot, man. Like, right off divorce, still struggling with PTSD from my second deployment, just scammed. And I feel broke, and, like, toxic work environments. I'm broke. So, I mean, there was times where I would get drunk, and I would just, like, I would literally have the gun and be holding it to my head, or, have it in my mouth. Like, man, this is so easy. Like, I could literally, like, I'm worth more dead than I am alive. At this point, if I die, at least I leave my daughter with life insurance money that she would have that would go into a trust and take care of her for the rest of her life, and so I'm just in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't see any other way out of this.
Mm.
And luckily I had a very strong support system. My girlfriend was very, very strong and supportive. And every time, my daughter is my saving grace. I'm going to try not to get emotional when I talk about this.
Mm.
My daughter is my saving grace because every time I saw her and I realized that, man, even if I am in jail, I can still, it may not be the way that I want it to, but I can still, if I try my hardest, have a relationship and at least give her words and show her what not to do or roads not to go down.
Mm.
At least that's better than not having a dad at all. And so I decided, like, you know what, I'm going to fight this thing and I'm going to live through it and then just see what happens. And thankfully the FBI, they came to me and they said, here's the deal. I've talked to the district attorney. We've talked everything over. Will you work for us to capture these guys and get everything out? And so, yeah, I said, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I will. And I said, and they were like, what do you want the outcome to be? I was like, well, I don't know what you mean by that, but I didn't do anything. Like, I don't know I didn't do anything. I don't know what I just want life to go back to the way it was before all of this. Like, this is, my mind doesn't think like a criminal. Therefore, I don't know what I don't know what I don't know. And so I signed up. I basically had to sign a bunch of pieces of paper and became an informant for them and started to record a bunch of conversations and things like that to help convict these guys. And long story short, to sum that up, I basically did a lot of recording for them. And after I did all those recordings, man, they were both sentenced to prison, and they both went off to prison here recently. And and so they're both serving long prison sentences. Nothing, thankfully, nothing happened to me. I had to file bankruptcy because the banks were coming after me, obviously. And they found, even though most of the paperwork afterwards, they found out that most of the paperwork was forged, forged signatures of mine. And so basically they wouldn't wait until the FBI case closed. So I had to file bankruptcy. And in all of that, man, I was really bitter. But, I was like, I'm not like these guys. I think I could still start a business on something that I'm passionate about. I started building affiliate websites, and I've built affiliate websites for a long time before, but I'm in the middle of bankruptcy, and I was like, you know what? I still want to own my own business. I think I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to, I can make something good come of this. And so I did, man. And I just worked extra hard because I wanted to prove them, like I wanted to prove them wrong. You know what I mean? Like, that's always been like a common occurrence in life. Like, oh, you say I won't graduate high school, watch me. Oh, you say I won't, do 20 years in the military, watch me. Oh, you say I won't do this, watch me. Like, proving everybody wrong. And so, man, I started my agency. I started my digital agency with $100, fresh off of bankruptcy. And man, it's been a work and a hustle, and I grew that to 6 figures in a very short amount of time. And so, and I was able to, hire on people, and now I get the amazing opportunity to go out and help people and provide value into the world. Just because of my experiences that I've been through, like, I know that I have a strong story, a lot of value to provide to help people along their entrepreneurial journey. And it's not easy. Like, being an entrepreneur is not easy. Like, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have struggles. Hopefully they're not nowhere near what I have faced. Mm-hmm. But if you just bite down and you say, you know what, I'm going to make this work, you can do that, and we're doing really, really well. And we're launching a bunch of other products, and our podcasts are doing really well. We're interviewing a lot of great people, getting opportunities to talk to great people like you. And so it's a way that my story, becomes who I am. And I love what Nicholas Barely says. He says, my mess becomes my message. And I can change people and impact people through this. And so that's exactly what I've set on a mission to do, man. And yeah, so that's kind of my that's kind of my whole story. That's kind of to bring all around. That was a Facebook post that you were talking about. You know, a lot of people don't know that about me. And I just now started talking about that kind of stuff and letting people know, like, look, if I did this, you can too. And there is no excuses. There's none, you know, I mean, look at all that I came through and I still did it. And you don't need, you know, financial backing to open up a business. You don't need, you know, business plans. You don't need, you just need hard work, determination, toughness, and grit that says, look, I'm going to make this happen. And if it's the last thing I do, you know, and I had to do a mindset change, man. My mindset had to change. So one of the things that I did, and this is a really good tip for your listeners, and for any dad out there that is just, you know, anybody, it doesn't matter who it is. I had to change my mindset, and I knew that coming off of all this, you know, and being very bitter in a lot of things, you know, just, I'm very, very proud of my military service. I wasn't proud of my work environments and things like that, and the leaders that I served under. But I decided I'm going to change my mindset. Every morning, I would wake up and listen to and I would type in motivation for success into YouTube, and I would listen on like countless hours on in, and you know, just listening to motivation for success videos. And I heard somewhere that your mind is the most impressionable in the first 15 to 20 minutes when you wake up. So because it's the most impressionable at that time, you need to be pumping positivity into your mind and into your ears and into your life in those 15 to 20 minutes. Because not only does it set the mood for your day, it'll set the mood for your week, it'll set the mood for your month, your year, and your life. And so that's what I started doing, man. And I made that mind shift change because words are powerful, right? And so I started listening to this, and, you know, how you become grateful and how you appreciate things, and how you appreciate the struggle of entrepreneurism, just being an entrepreneur, and how you appreciate the struggle of hard work and getting to the next level. And man, it really changed my life. It's changed it saved my life too, you know, and I know I've helped many others just through my story. And so, yeah, man, it's about having a mind shift change. You know, like you said, you're on this journey to help 1 million dads, and you made a a mindset shift that you had to do. And man, that's important. You know, that's important when people can realize that if you change your mindset, you can accomplish and do anything in the world. Nobody can stop you. It doesn't matter who it is, not even the Russian mob.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I love that story. I was really looking forward to getting more details about it. So got me quiet for a second there, but really appreciate it. Very powerful. Actually, you and me, man, we are liking that in the sense that I also listen to motivational music every single morning. I love listening to Dr. Eric Thomas, for example.
Love him.
I can't come up with his name right now. There's an older man. He's funny, but also really spot on every time. Les
Brown is who I love.
There you go. That's him. Yeah, exactly. Les Brown. I just really enjoy listening to him, so I do that every single morning. Except for this week, as you know, I'm not feeling good. I'm trying to get better, but yeah, man, that really helps. And that's one of the things that I teach within my my morning system training. Is like that's one of the most important things, man. Just fill your mind up with as much positivity and motivational stuff as you can in the morning. Wake up and look in the mirror, look at yourself and smile right away. Force a smile at first if you have to, and after that, the smile comes by itself, and it gives you so much energy. Plus, and you might notice that as well, is that with your kids, man, then with your in the case if you're with your daughter and she wakes up and she sees you, and she sees you already just smiling and motivated and positive, and that just boom, that does something with them as well, because that's what they see first, right? That's what they hear first. If they first hear somebody with, or they hear something like, hey, sweetie, what's going on? Come on, let's go. It's a beautiful day. Then that helps them. So I like that message. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, that mindset, that mindset shift that you make whenever that happens, it affects everybody in life, you know, and affects everybody that you're around. And you're right. It's definitely, it changed a lot for me, but now because of that positive change in my life, my daughter is now set up for success because I have this mindset shift. I can now educate her and show her how to deal with things and how to do things. And I'm coming from a good positive place. And that's amazing. And I wish that I had that growing up, and I'm hell bent and determined to make sure that my daughter has that growing up. And she's, you know, amazing. She's very, very positive. You know, and she brings me up too. And so now she sometimes becomes my motivation in the morning, just you know, when things I don't want to do it, she's like, Dad, we got this. Today's our day, you know.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So you just mentioned, man, that entrepreneurship is very difficult. I always say, look, being an entrepreneur is difficult. Being a dad entrepreneur is just a whole different ball game on its own again.
Yes.
Are there some keys to success that you can share when it comes to dadpreneurship?
When you said key success to share when it comes to that?
Yeah, when it comes to being a dadpreneur.
Yeah. You know, I think that a lot of things that came, it was when I was when I was going through a lot of that, like I said, I learned that mindset shift. But one thing that I learned is, you know, because being an entrepreneur is hard and tough and there's a lot of things going on. One of the things that I did was I started cherishing the smaller moments that I had with my daughter. And so as a dad, you know, we have a very positive, and a very strong, foundation with how we impact our kids' lives. And so one of the things that I did that I started doing was I started to appreciate smaller moments with her. And in those smaller moments, I didn't just take them for granted. What I did was I started to use those opportunities to give life advice, or to make sure I was in the moment with her. So like one of the things that we do is every morning when we drive to when we go to school, or whatever, right, or after school, or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's just late at night, I always make sure to ask her and be involved in what she's doing. Hey, what are you learning? How is life going? How are things going? What did you struggle with today? What did you fail at? What did you succeed at? And I try to find somewhere where I can give her really good advice at her level and her standpoint. You know, I've been through a lot, and one of the things that we need to do as parents is take the time to not just be that parent figure that is like, oh, hey, you need to do this because I'm the dad and I said do this, or oh, you need to go do your chores, or oh, and it's always talking at them. I decided that being a dadpreneur is I've got all this experience, and if I'm not trying to raise my daughter in the right mindset, and talk with her and let her know how things are going, you know, both with me and with her, you know, then what am I really doing? And so I started to really take that more serious. So, you know, one of my key advices would be that be present, like in the little times. And I know as a dadpreneur and you know, as an entrepreneur, like we're busy, we're always out working, we're always hustling, we're always, you know, we're grinding. Like it's not easy. We're doing really, really, really late nights, and sometimes we're doing really, really early mornings, and sometimes we're pulling all-nighters. You know, it's just, that's the nature of entrepreneurship. Like when you're starting out, let's just be honest with each other. Like, let's not sugarcoat it, right? It's not easy, and it requires a lot of your time, and it's demanding. So I made a point to say, okay, I'm not going to do business on my drive homes, or my drive to school. I'm not going to do business when I'm sitting on the couch next to my daughter. I'm going to be involved, and I'm going to try to talk to her, and I'm going to try to do more than just talk to her. I'm going to try to also, you know, make sure that there's that her and I have, you know, we're having real conversation, and we're talking to each other, not just me talking at her. You know, I think that starts to change her mind at a very young age. And as dads, the one thing we want more than anything in life is because we have a very powerful role in our kids' life, especially. We want them to be better off, man. Like we want them to, not only do we want them to be better off, but I want her to know that, look, you're not any different than a colleague. I want to talk to you and let you know how life really is. I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you. You know, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to talk with you. I'm going to talk to you, not talk at you. So talk with your kids, be present in the moment and talk with them, not at them.
Exactly. I like that. Biggest thing that sticks out is making the decision to say, look, those times that I have to bring her to school, pick her up, or she's with me, that's I decide to be with her, right?
Yes.
And you stick with it. Because sometimes we decide and then somebody calls and then you're like, oh, look at the phone, right? And you want to pick up. And then before you know it, you're talking and then you miss what you said before. So I like that. I think that's a very powerful and important message. Absolutely. So I appreciate that for you for sharing that. So what made you decide to start the podcast? And maybe most importantly, if there's fathers out there that are like, man, I got something to share. How does one start a podcast, and what are some of the tips that? These are a lot of questions. Sorry, but what are some of the tips that you learned over time that you're like, man, I should have done that right from the beginning?
Man, you know what? The first thing I would have done is right from the beginning to let you know, I would have started to share my story a lot sooner, because that attracts people in. So if you're wanting to start a podcast, if you're wanting to do anything like that, know that your story attracts people in. So if you've got a message, you can't afford to not share it. And the reason why, somebody reached out to me the other day, said, man, your story is so powerful. I love it. I've went through a lot of stuff. Like, he was like, I've been through sexual abuse and sexual trauma. And on top of that, you know, and that's really hard for me as a man, because that's, you know, kind of a stigma around that. And I was like, hey man, I understand that. I said, but, and he became an alcoholic and he was in abusive relationships. And he was like, but I want to start transforming that and start talking about my story, but I just don't know how. And I said, man, you can't afford not to share your story right up front. And here's why. Besides the fact that it attracts people to you, who are you not helping, and whose life are you not changing because you're not sharing your story? And so right up front, I would tell you, share your story, share your message, and get it out there. If you want to start a podcast, I will let you know, but aside from just sharing your story, start reaching out to others quickly, right? We made a decision in our podcast to do the first 20, 30 episodes, something like that. Let's do the first 20, 30 episodes and not bring on other people, not bring on others, and not really share our story. Let's talk about what we're passionate about. Well, the moment we started sharing our story and the moment we started bringing people on and sharing their stories, right? That's the moment everything changed for us. Everything spiked. Everything, our ratings started going. I say our ratings, our statistics started going up. Our downloads, our streams, all that stuff started going up. We started getting more visibility. People start talking about the digital drink more, and our show evolved from, you know, now we talk. It was, hey, let's just do an entrepreneurship podcast, man, because that's really what we're passionate about. But now it's like, no, now we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about lifestyle, and we're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to talk about being a dad, and we're going to talk about, you know, love and sex and all this stuff that evolve that you have to deal with as an entrepreneur. On top of the stress of, man, I still got to grow this dang business, because if I don't, I'm not getting food on the table. People relate to that way more. And so I would tell you, vulnerability is the new marketing. I don't care what anybody says. Vulnerability is the new marketing. Share your mess, share your message, share it often, and start getting other people on to share their experiences, because the moment you do that, your podcast will, I mean, you're setting it up, the foundations of success right there at the very beginning. So that would be, man, if anybody's out there that wants to do that, you should definitely reach out to myself or to you or anybody who's doing it. That would be the other piece of advice. Reach out to people who are doing it and say, hey, what's going on? What would you suggest? I'm thinking about doing this. I'm starting it out. Give me some tips right up front, because, you know, we haven't released all of them. We're kind of waiting, but we're about 60 or 70 shows in right now. And you know, I do things way different now, like kind of what we were talking about. I do things way different than what I did at the beginning. And people who have followed us along that journey have said, man, I really love what you're talking about now. it's really changed. Your podcast and your platform has gotten a whole lot better. And now I can't even go back and listen to the first episode. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't. This is horrible and it's embarrassing. I can't do it. So.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah, it's finding your voice, right? I'm a big fan of Russell Brunson, and he mentioned that as well. It's like, just if you're looking forward to sharing your message, or if you're thinking about, hey, podcasting is for me, because it also has to be for you, right? If you're a writer, you're a writer. If you're a vlogger, you're a vlogger. If you're a podcaster, you're a podcaster. It's a different breed altogether. I'm always a video. I love video, but for video, it's really easy. You just take the audio and just plug it in the podcast,
Right.
and you got a podcast as well. So I just took advantage of that. But he's like, stop worrying, because the first 30, 40, maybe 50 episodes, nobody's going to watch anyway. That's fine.
That's it.
And if they do, they're going to see your journey, which is great, which you just mentioned. And 3, you're going to find your own voice. And then indeed, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, that's crazy how you evolve, right? So again, great advice, man. I really appreciate that. So let me ask you this. Have you guys monetized your podcast in some way?
Yeah. So, I think we decided early on that one of the things that we don't want to do for our podcast is to do sponsorships or advertisements. We want to provide value. Like, we're really, really big on that. Provide as much value as possible, because we have a big mission too. Much like yours is to reach out and help 1 million dads. Ours is we want to reach out and provide value to a million people. A podcast is a great platform to do that. So we decided early on, let's not. It would be very, very easy to go get sponsorships and get people on it. And especially now that we've got a worldwide audience, and we've got a lot of listeners, and a lot of downloads and things like that. It would be really easy to do so. But what we decided is that we don't want that to stand in the way of the value that we provide. So how we decided to monetize it is let's at the very beginning of the podcast, we will self-promote. And what I mean by that is we usually have a call to action. Hey, go over to thedigitalDrink.com. It takes you straight to our Facebook group. And then once we get them in there, we kind of nurture them and warm them up and bring them into our world. And once they see that, and then we make offers to them at that point, that's how we monetize it over time. Is it slow? Absolutely. Very, very slow. But I believe that the value that we will provide and the fact that we will be able to get people to spend more money with us over a longer period of time, because they see the value that we provide for free and they see what we're doing for them. It will be a no-brainer for them to go, okay, this is a great offer. I want to do it. And so that's kind of the stance that we took very, very early on. And that's really how we've decided to kind of monetize it.
Exactly. So far, I'm following the same path. Might also be because I haven't figured out yet because I'm on Anchor, I haven't figured out yet how to do that monetizing thing. And I thought, you know what, I can't get bothered at the moment, but I am going to figure out the guys that are more experienced on podcasts, how they're doing it. So I'm glad you shared like that, because that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. It's all about value. It was one of my questions, but you already answered it. Like, what's your view on impact over money? And you shared that perfectly already in this one. So in that regards, man, what I wanted to ask is, I also heard you talking, because you just said it like, hey, we want to give them value, and then little by little they come to us, and et cetera, et cetera. I heard you in one of the other lives that you actually did on your Facebook. You were talking about value ladder, right? That's one of the big things in regards to helping you also become set up a successful business. For the people that don't know, because I've noticed that a lot of dadpreneurs that are being pulled to me are just like me, starting dadpreneurs. What is a value ladder, and how can somebody build that up, or why should somebody build that up? Give us a little bit more insight on that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that question. So a value ladder is really just a series of steps, right, that you take them to essentially to bring people in. And it's twofold. So it's as it starts out, maybe they're not spending a lot of money, but as your value ladder increases, obviously they're going to spend more money with you. So it's a journey that you take people on to spend more money with you. Now, the beautiful thing is the more money they spend with you, the more time, energy, and value you give to them. And so, our value ladder is very simple. Our value ladder is our free Facebook group, completely free, right? Bring everybody in and kind of get them a part of our world, get them identifying with us and who we are. You know, we give them, we call them a part of our tribe, and we start to kind of indoctrinate them, right? Let them know like who we are and what we do and how we do things and the value that we provide. And then from there, we take them to a very low cost offer, $7, right? $7 offer. And then from the $7 offer, then we go into, you know, marketing intensives where we're doing things for them and helping them out. And we're not doing it yet, but and then the next step is consulting. From there, we're just working with you on a very close basis. You know, and as each step, we're essentially increasing the price, right? So from free to $7, from $7, you know, up to $1,000, from $1,000 up to $5,000. And so then we do our one-on-one coaching masterminds, you know, where it's a very small select group of individuals. They get a lot of our time and they get unlimited access, you know, meaning that, hey, if they've got a question, it's just a simple, you've got my personal cell phone number. You know, you've got things like that you can reach me at any time to help you out. If you need me to log into your campaigns and you need me to sit down with you, you know, and do more marketing intensives, or how do you launch new brands or whatever, you know, you get that very, very one-on-one, intimate, personal experience. And so, yeah, that's kind of the value ladder is you got to think of it as a journey. Essentially what it is when you get people in for free, right? Or maybe it's just maybe it's a low cost offer right at the very beginning. When you get people in at that lower level, people, if they like you, right, they will continue to buy from you, right? Think about this. When I go shoe shopping, right, I like to go in and buy name brand shoes. Well, why? Well, it's really easy, right? I got my first pair of Nikes, you know, as an example. I got my first pair of Nikes for free. My mom and dad bought them for me, right? So after that, though, they started coming out with, you know, more shoes and different styles as times changed, right? And so now shoes are way more expensive as an adult than they were as a kid, right? But they've taken me through this value ladder of their journey, and I feel like I'm a part of them. They're doing commercials and all this stuff. They've walked me through this journey with them, and now guess what? I'm not only buying shoes from them, but oh yeah, I want those shorts, and oh yeah, I'd like to have that shirt, and oh, they've got a running watch. I want to make sure that I get that, right? I become and because they continue to provide steps in their value ladder, I will continue to buy from them. Okay, I'm just using Nike as an example, but you get my idea. As long as I am providing value at the very beginning, I get people in, they will continue to spend money with me, and they will continue to spend more money with me, right? As long as I'm getting them results at every single level, right? That's the key, getting them results at every single level, and I'm continuing to come out with different things that gets them to spend more money with me, right? Everything needs to increase. And there's no secret sauce to this. You know, I know people who have 7 steps in their value ladder, right? From free all the way to $50,000 a year. I also know people who have, you know, 18 steps with them, everything from free to $100,000 a year. There's no secret sauce in that. It's really, what do you want to do and how can you divide your time, and how big is your team to be able to support all of the people at their different levels through this value ladder. You know, people stop buying from you for 2 reasons. They either forgot about you or they don't have anything else to buy. You stop giving them something to buy. You know, and that's how brands die. You know, take, you know, we're, you know, kind of the digital space again. You know, think about big brands. Amazon's put them out of business, right? And they've struggled because they stopped providing another step in the value ladder. Like, oh, you know, Toys R Us is a huge one. We want everybody to come into our store to buy toys. Well, people don't do that anymore. So now you've got to give them another option. You could have went online, provided them an option to buy toys online, and charged them more because of convenience. But you chose not to do that. So guess what? People stop buying from you. And when people stop buying from you, you go bankrupt and you lose money and you start all over brand new. And now you've got to go, you have no choice but to now focus all your attention back down here at the bottom of your value ladder. Really, the very bottom of your value ladder after you get it built up should be where you spend the least amount of time, right? This is where people still get a lot of value, but most of my time needs to be spent up here with people spending a lot of money with me, right?
Yeah. I love that, man. I appreciate that. Let me check real quick what time it is.
Yeah.
think we're getting up on an hour. Let me see real quick, man, because let me ask you this question, and then we'll call it a day. It's a simple one. I always like to ask this question. I read a lot. The reason for that is that reading helps me get new ideas, or just, getting me to know things that I didn't know yet. Or sometimes it even helps me things that I didn't know that I didn't know. And all of a sudden then, hey, it's like, wow. So, man, are there 3 books that you could recommend to startup dadpreneurs that would help them just, make a couple of jumps instead of a couple of small steps?
I love that, man. That's a really, really smart. That's a smart. I love that question. Okay, so 3 books, man. So my very first book is going to be about mindset, right? You got to change your mindset, because if I can't change my mindset, then I don't realize what is out there. I can't grow. I can't scale. I can't develop into what my higher calling is. So my very first one that I would mention is the Millionaire Booklet from Grant Cardone. It's a really small booklet. It's like 50 pages or something. It's super, super small. But the thing I love about that book is it shows you how to be super, super successful. It shows you how to make $1 million. And it breaks it down in what he calls millionaire math. And it really kind of helps you see just how easy it really truly is to get to the next level, right? And so that next level for me is I want to hit 7 figures. I want to get to 7 figures a year. But I wouldn't be looking at that right now if I didn't know how to get to 6 figures, and if I didn't know how to get to, let me hit $1,000 extra a month, right? And so he breaks all that down for you. So Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone is the first one. The second one I would tell you that I love this is the E-Myth, right? The E-Myth is amazing because it just talks about how you have to set up these systems in your business very early on. And when you set up these systems in your business, it allows the systems to go to work for you, so it can take you out of that. And your system continues to run that piece of your business, right? Because, as entrepreneurs, you're going to be pulled in, and we wear 80 different hats. But if I have systems in place that says, okay, this is how this is, I'm not spending an hour every time this event happens. I'm spending 5 minutes because I have a system in place. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really powerful for that, and it helps you establish those things at the very beginning. And maybe some of those systems is very simple. Maybe it's I need to hire an accountant, and he does all of my invoicing and things like that. I don't need to worry about it, right? That's super easy. So I love that book, the E-Myth. And then the other one, which I recently read this. In fact, I read this when it first came out. It's still so powerful. It's called Rise and Grind by Damon. The Shark John, yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Damon John talks about this. The Rise and Grind, man. The Rise and Grind it's really all about waking up and having the right routines and and doing things right from the very beginning, and then how you go out about your day and how you devote your time, and devoting your time to things that really mean the most. And he talks about how it's the very first thing you should do when you wake up is not jump on social media, not jump on emails, not start answering text messages, because when you do that, you give away your sovereignty. Like you submit to them very first thing in the morning. And really what you should be doing is submitting to yourself and submitting to the Lord, or submitting to whatever higher power you believe in, and to your family, right? To get everything up and going, to start everybody's day the right way. Mm-hmm. And so I love that book because it's absolutely amazing and very, very, I think very, very eye-opening as well. And I'm going to throw in one more. This book here, man, this one really made me realize the power of being an entrepreneur. Mm. It made me realize the potential that business owners or entrepreneurs have if they leverage everything the right way. Mm. I don't agree with the theory of what he's saying, but the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I don't believe you should only work 4 hours a week in your business. I don't believe that at all. But he talks about in that book how you leverage other people's systems and other people's times and other people's network and other people's their hard work, and how you can leverage that for yourself so you can get further ahead, so you're spending less time in menial tasks that you don't need to be worrying about, so you can concentrate on growing and scaling your business and work on it and not in it. So yeah, those would be some good books that I would recommend every entrepreneur needs to read. Absolutely, for sure.
Nice, man.
Yeah, that's it right there.
It's not read yet, though. Still new up. It still smells new.
Yeah, very powerful book, brother. You got to read that. It talks a lot of good stuff right there. A lot of good nuggets.
I got you. I'm too busy at the moment reading other stuff. These are my daily books. I got the Daily Stoic. I like that. I got The Richest Man in Babylon.
Nice.
It's a nice thin one. That helps. And I was checking because you said millionaire, and I didn't hear the booklet yet. So I thought, is he talking about this one? But no.
I like that one too.
So
that one's a good one.
These are the 3 that I read every single morning, chapter each or a page each, because the Stoic is a page. But I'm definitely going to check these, man, because the first 3 I haven't heard of. So I'm going to put these on my list of buying very soon.
Nice.
Start working on that. So I really appreciate that. So last thing, Therin.
I would tell you, for anybody out there, anybody out there that wants to read a lot, like, you can read a lot more and read a lot faster. And sometimes this works for people and sometimes it doesn't. But I have a book goal every single year. And my book goal is to do better than I did last year. So last year I read 50 books. The year before that I read 30 books. So this year I have a goal to read 100 books. So here it's super, super simple. What I do is I take use of my time. When I'm in the car, I don't listen to music. I either listen to a book or I listen to a podcast. Those are I'm in the car a lot. And so, or when I'm exercising, when I'm walking, when I'm running or whatever, I try to engulf in my mind in that. It's easier to listen to a book and to get it for me than it is to take time to sit down and read something. Mm-hmm. If I can listen to something while I'm driving, I'm still concentrated very, very, very much so on the words, still concentrating on the content of it. So, if for somebody who's out there who's like, man, I can't read fast. I'm not a fast reader, but I can listen fast and I can still get through books. So.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the thing with Audible, you can put it on a little faster, right?
Yeah.
That's excellent, man. So listen, all the dappers out there that have been watching, or maybe later it's the recording, and they're like, man, how can I follow you? How can I stay in contact with you? How can they ask questions if they still have questions like me? I still think I have like 7, 8 questions, but hey, how can we stay in contact?
Yeah, man, go to thedigital-drink.com. It'll take you over to our Facebook group. We spend a lot of time in there. We're the world's first and only live virtual reality show. We're featured in Entrepreneur Magazine over there. And we answer a lot of questions, provide a lot of value there. That's the easiest and best way. That's kind of going back to our value ladder, that's our free. And we just provide so much value there. And then from there, you can always reach out to us. We're there in the group. We're happy to answer your questions, help out in any way. Maybe just start a conversation, see how we can work together on anything that you got going on or whatever the case may be. And then the other one is you can always go check out the Digital Drink podcast. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart Radio, all that good stuff. So you can definitely check out our podcast there. That's the easiest way, man. That's the easiest way to get in touch with us.
Nice, man. I appreciate that. I'll make a quick note so I put the links later for people that are listening to the recording. They can check it out and click on it. It's easier than trying to look for it now. So anyway, Therin, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. Love connecting with you and definitely appreciate all the insights and experiences that you share with us. So thanks for that. Everybody that's been watching, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you got value out of it. Next time, make sure you join us on Zoom. So if you have any questions, you can actually get the chance to ask Therin yourself. So that said, I wish everybody a thundering Thursday, and we will talk to each other very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.